Today, we're hopefully going to give you a better understanding of your sleep, an understanding of what maybe is stopping you from sleeping, and we will help you understand what you can maybe do to try and get better kip. And we're going to talk about some of the myths, fads, codswallop, bunkum and snake oil that is out there when it comes to sleep. Because sleep is really, really important. It's one of the 4 things we need to live: food, water, air and sleep. I would actually say there's a hierarchy. There's a hierarchy of health in terms of those things. You know, breathing's really important in terms of you'll die quite quickly if you can't breathe. If you don't hydrate, little takes a little bit longer. If you can't sleep, it's about 9-10 days. That's how long we can roughly live without sleep. Food, about 19 days. So sleep is that important to our health. Important for our physical health. It's how we recover. It's how we grow. It's important to our mental health. It helps us make better decisions. It helps us be the best version of ourselves. It helps us be more emotionally resilient. It is a manna from heaven. It's a golden elixir. It makes us a better version of ourselves. Yet, almost 20% of us would say that we are sleep deprived. Lots of different stats. 1/3 of us have suffered from insomnia at some point in our lives, and for many of us, sleep and meeting our sleep need and feeling alert and active the next day is difficult to achieve, whether that's for us or for our families. Because sleep does make us the best version of ourselves. It makes us funnier, it makes us smarter, it makes us sexier to those around us. And who would not want to be funnier, smarter and sexier? And hopefully by the end of today, you will be all 3 of those things, a little bit more. So a little bit about me. I am James Wilson. I am the sleep geek and man in glasses who knows a lot about sleep. I'm the founder of Kipmate, and we'll talk about Kipmate a little bit later. My role in Kipmate is I'm a sleep practitioner and educator. I work one-on-one with people. I also do things like this, webinars, seminars, and talk to audiences about their sleep. I work with organisations and sports teams. So we work with people like Red Bull, Coca-Cola, Hellenic. The irony of those 2 companies is not lost on me being a sleep expert. I've worked with Zurich Insurance. We've worked with the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency, Marks and Spencer's, Next, Under Armour, and I am a recovering insomniac. Hello, I am James, and I struggle to sleep. For me, there's a problem with my insomnia because there was a paradox at the heart of my being. I was a poor sleeper whose family made beds and mattresses. Would you trust a man who can't sleep to buy a mattress off him? No was often the answer, and that's why the business that I ran, he's no longer with us. In that, I was working around sleep experts. I was reading a lot about sleep. I just felt that there was a lot of patronising of poor sleepers. There was this idea that as poor sleepers, we were stupid. We're talking 20 years ago now, but we were stupid. It was something in us that was the problem. This expert was a doctor. This expert was a professor. And us poor sleepers were the idiots, and we needed to be scared into sleeping better. And I didn't really think that was the right thing to do. As trustee of a charity, I came off the board of trustees. I changed as a practitioner, worked with kids, mostly teenagers, then did a bit of work on the TV. I was one of the experts on Channel 4's The Secrets of Sleep. I do a lot of things like This Morning, BBC Breakfast, Steph's Packed Lunch. I like talking about sleep. And I do it because I believe poor sleepers get a run deal. Poor sleep is a horrible thing. You are never more lonely than when you're awake at night and the rest of the house isn't. And I'm a lot better sleep than I used to be. You know, I sleep so much better, but I will not tell you that I've cured my poor sleep. And also, anyone who does, often it's in terms of an advert, I've cured my poor sleep with my £9.99 course you can get off TikTok. That isn't true. Sleep is like your mental health. We understand ourselves better and we get better at it. And probably maybe the proudest thing that I do is I work a lot in football. I'm a sleep coach in football, and I would argue, we'll use Americanism here, but I'm the winningest sleep coach in football. In my career, I've worked with Rotherham United, Sheffield United, Lincoln City, Coventry City and West Ham United, both men and women's team. And in that time, I've won 5 promotions, from different divisions. I've been involved in winning the Papa John's Trophy. It's a big trophy. Don't forget the Papa John's. And I also helped West Ham win the Europa Conference League. 43 years, West Ham men's team did not win a trophy, and they worked with me for one season. And guess what? They won a trophy. This season with Coventry City. If you're following Coventry's fortunes, slow start to the season, but they've just gone on they've just won 7 games out of the last 8. And the sleep work we do is part of that, because I would say it's not actually they're necessarily the sleep work is having a massive impact. It's the culture that is created by having a sleep expert, by being open to improving our sleep. And unfortunately in football, it's not that common. In football at the moment, there are only 2 of us working in the English game on an ongoing basis. It's me and a lady called Anna West at Brentford. More football clubs should be doing more to support their players in sleep, as should more organisations. And hopefully today that is going to be something that we are talking about. So we're going to start with, and this is the place you need to start. So you are not sleeping. What do you do? For many of us, what we do is we just jump into the middle. We'll just start buying stuff. Oh, I can't sleep. My friend's bought a new mattress. I'll buy a mattress. Oh, I can't sleep. My friend's got a meditation app. I'll try meditating. I'll try a supplement. I'll try an eye mask. I'll try some earplugs. But you don't know if these things are going to solve your issue. So where we start when I'm working with poor sleep is a sleep geek approach is to start with, who are you as a sleeper? So you a good or bad sleeper? Now, probably if I'm talking to you at this moment in time, you're a bad sleeper. But are you genetically predisposed to poor sleep? So are you someone who has always slept poorly for their entire life and it's just come to a head and you want to do something about it? If that sounds like you, then I would classify you as a bad sleeper. You're someone who's always lived with poor sleep. Or are you someone who's generally slept well, but a life event has maybe affected your sleep? So that life event could be a relationship breakup. Nothing makes sleep more difficult than a broken heart. That life event could be stress at work. You know, your boss has been a bit of a dipstick. He's putting pressure on you. That's causing you to have sleep issues. It could be you've moved house. We all know that moving house is the most stressful thing that we can do. It could be that your kids are playing up. You know, if your kids aren't sleeping, it doesn't matter how good a sleeper you are, you won't be sleeping. It could be any number of things. And actually, but what we need to start off with is this short-term issue that's just started, or is this something you've been living with for your entire life? Where this who you are is about your genes. What have you inherited from those that came before us? So then we look at things like owls and larks. So we all talk about sleep type, chronotype. I'm an owl, I like to go to bed late, I get up late. I'm an lark, I like to get up early, go to bed early. But actually, when we talk about it like 2 poles. I'm a lark, I'm an owl, and we talk about it like that. And that actually is not the way to think about your chronotype. The best way to think about it is like, here's your 2 poles, and between these 2 poles is a line. And we all sit somewhere on that line. So we all sit somewhere on that line. Most of us in the middle, with a slight preference one way or the other. And actually what this line gives us, it gives us windows of opportunity. When are you most suited to going to bed and when are you most suited to waking up? So I'll use me as an example. I'm a bit of a middle lark. So I would go to bed somewhere between 9:30 and 11 and probably wake up somewhere between 5:30 and 7. So if I meet my sleep need within those hours, I'm going to feel better. My quality of sleep will be better. Now we can't always meet our sleep need. I do work with shift work companies. I'll be working till 2 o'clock in the morning and we have to adjust our sleep around that. But if we can, the more we sleep with our sleep type, the easier our lives will be. If you're trying to work out, well, what is my sleep type? Think about how you sleep in terms of when you are off work. So when you're on holiday, do you continue to get up at pretty much the same time as you do normally, or do you start to trend later? Or do you actually even start to go a little bit earlier? Think about your family, because sleep this part of our sleep is often inherited. Do you have a parent or a child who sleeps a little bit like you? And you can see similarities between you. But when we understand our sleep type and we understand what time suits us in terms of going to bed and waking up, and we target a sleep time, not definite, but we target a sleep time that's right for us, that will help us get the best we can have our sleep. I'm a lazy practitioner. I like to make my life easier. And one of the ways I can make my life easier when trying to help people sleep better is to get them sleeping in line with their body's natural rhythm. And then finally, when we're looking at who we are sleeper, how much sleep do we need? Now, the most asked question I get about sleep is, James, how much sleep do I need? And I can't tell you how much sleep you need. What I can tell you is how to work out, have you met your sleep need? Now, sleep need is different for every person. And we talk about sleep need, we talk about magic numbers. We talk about, we need 8 hours sleep. But this comes from during the late Victorian time and labour protests, labourers in terms of workforce, trying to get a shorter working day. And the idea was we needed 8 hours for work, 8 hours for leisure, and 8 hours for sleep. And from that idea, we have this misconception that we all need 8 hours. Now, for most of us, it's probably somewhere between 6 and 9 hours in terms of time. The thing is that sleep is not just about how much. It's also, just as importantly, about how good. And how good is harder to measure. And this is the bit we often get wrong. So every one of you is different, but also every night is different. If you have a particularly physically exerting day, you will need more deep sleep. If you have a particularly emotionally difficult day, you've had some issues at work, your kids are playing up, you've had an argument with your partner, you might need more REM sleep. So your sleep need can contract and change a little bit day to day. And what we need to consider is really a good way of assessing have I met my sleep need is how do I feel at 10, 11 in the morning. If you feel alert and active, you've probably met your sleep need. If you don't, you probably haven't. And that's a really good way of working out sleep need. Don't judge your sleep just as you wake up. It's not fair. You will be inert. You will feel lethargic. But at 10, 11 in the morning, you should be at most alert, and therefore you might have met your sleep need. So think about it. Think about, how much sleep do I need on a regular basis? What's my sort of rough idea of sleep? For me, it's probably 6.5 to 7.5 hours. But think about from your point of view, how much sleep do you need? And then we're going to look at some truths around sleep. So we have some misconceptions about sleep, and I think one of the biggest misconceptions we have is that we can force ourselves to sleep. An idea that we can turn a switch and we fall asleep. And it's not our fault. Expertise gives us this idea because you will see it have a consistent bedtime. That's true, and we'll talk about consistency in the next slide. But you can't make yourself go to sleep every night at 10 o'clock. You can target a sleep time, so you can target 10 o'clock as a sleep time if that's in line with your body's natural rhythm, but you might not fall asleep at 10 o'clock. And there's a theory of sleep that's particularly prevalent in sport that has been debunked. This 90-minute theory, this 90-minute count-back theory. So you want to get up at 7, you count back 90-minute cycles, and you end up at 10:30. You fall asleep at 10:30, you wake up at 7, you go through your sleep cycles beautifully. Every stage of sleep is met, and that is how you sleep better. The problem with that theory is, in the real world, it doesn't actually apply because sleep cycles are roughly 90 minutes. They are not exactly 90 minutes. And we can't force ourselves to fall asleep exactly at 10:30 to wake up exactly at 7 o'clock. So although we can make ourselves wake up at the same time every day, we can't make ourselves fall asleep at the same time every night. So we can't force ourselves to sleep. And in fact, when we try and force ourselves to sleep, sleep becomes worse. Because even if you're a good sleeper, you have experienced this. You will have an early flight. You're getting up at 4 in the morning to go on a flight. And what do? You go to bed early. Don't do that. That's the worst thing you can do. But what you should do is just go to bed at your normal time, wind down properly before bed, and get the best sleep you can. Except that sleep will be worse that day. But we don't do that. We go to bed at 8, waking up at 4, and we lay there tossing and turning. Tossing and turning. About 11, the panic starts to set in. You start feeling more and more anxious. About 12, you can taste the adrenaline. You can taste the fear of not getting sleep. About 2, you get up at 4, you think, oh, I'm not driving to the airport. I'll kill us all. That is what you think. And about 3:30, what do you think? You think, oh, I'm getting up in half an hour. And you fall asleep. Because the one thing about sleep we know is that to fall asleep and stay asleep, you need to drop your heart rate and you need to drop your core temperature. So if you create those conditions, you're relaxed, you fall asleep. So when you're forcing yourself to sleep, I need to get 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 sleep, that's raising your heart rate. That's making it harder for you to fall asleep. If we have a targeted sleep time and when we don't fall asleep at that time, we continue to wind down. If we don't feel sleepy, that is perfect. So you cannot force yourself to sleep. If you try, you'll just lay there tossing and turning, tossing and turning, tossing and turning. Sleep is not a switch. Sleep cannot be controlled. I am not Joe Wicks, as you can see, and I can't shout at you to make you go to sleep any quicker. I couldn't sit next to you in bed and go to sleep. go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, because you won't. You'd also ask how on earth I've got in your house and why I'm in your bedroom, but that does not help. I do offer an overnight service. It's quite expensive, but if you did want me to do that for you, I am able to do it. So you can't force yourself to sleep. That's the first sleep truth. Stop trying. Understand yourself better. Have a better sleep time. What that works for you. We then need to be consistent when it comes to our sleep. So I've just told you that you can't force yourself to sleep, but we're talking about consistency. And really, when it comes to driving a consistent sleep time, the best thing you can do is a consistent wake-up time. One of the systems that manages our sleep is a sleep pressure. So from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you are getting sleepier and sleepier and sleepier. If you consistently wake up at 7 o'clock, you will probably constantly feel tired about the same time, depending on your natural rhythm. Might be 10:30, might be 11. So by having a consistent wake-up time, you drive a consistent sleep time. Because that pressure is like an appetite. The longer you go without sleep, the sleepier you get. So we're trying to create this sleep appetite as much as possible. That's why sometimes for some people, having a nap makes sleep worse at night, because a nap at the wrong time is like having a snack before your tea. It will make it harder for you to sleep at night. So that pressure is incredibly important. And we know that actually consistency is as much of a driver, and could be more so of a driver, of healthy sleep than actually the amount of time you spend asleep. There's a piece of research that showed this. They took two groups of people. One group had 5 hours of sleep every night for 6 weeks. The other group had 5 hours of sleep in the week and 10 hours at the weekend. So significantly more sleep over a 6-week period. The 10 and 5 group, they found that their liver and kidney function are deteriorated in that time, because there's that inconsistency. Because when we have 5 hours sleep normally, our body has lots of jobs to do during sleep. Our body is clearing itself of neurotoxins during sleep. Our body is physically recovering during sleep. Your brain is more active during sleep than it is during the day. So if you normally give it 6-7 hours, for example, to do that job, it will do that job in that time. Then you have 10 hours at the weekend. The extra 3 hours, it's not good quality sleep. You've already done the jobs that you need to do. It's junk sleep. It's sleep that you don't really need. And by having the extra sleep, you're putting your organs into shutdown mode for too long, which is where this idea that in that research they showed the efficiency of these organs deteriorated by having inconsistent sleep. So it's really, really important to try and be as consistent as possible. So that lying you're having at the weekend, that could be ruining your sleep. Now, every person is different, and it might be that you have built some sleep debt, and it might be that you're a good sleeper, and having a lie at the weekend does not matter. My wife always asks me to make that clear, because she has a lie at the weekend, and she sleeps fine, so she's all right having a lie at the weekend. And at this point, if you want to have a lie at the weekend, I will make a point that is really strong. I am not your mum. I'm not here to tell you what to do. If you choose to have a lie-in, that's fine, but that might be why on a Sunday night you cannot get to sleep, because the lie-in on Saturday morning and Sunday morning is ruining your sleep on a Sunday night. Now, I'm not an evil man, because I know you were thinking, oh, I quite like this fella, his little chubby face, his glasses. Now I don't, because he's telling me not to have a lie-in. But I'll give you a bit of leeway. Some of you could have a lie-in for about an hour and a half, even push it to 2 hours for some of you, and it won't affect your sleep at night too much. But be aware, if you want to get better sleep, driving consistency with a consistent wake-up time is the best way to do it. And then finally, another sleep truth that we cannot argue with: nobody sleeps through the night. So one of the questions I get asked is, James, how do I sleep through the night? And you can't sleep through the night. We all wake up roughly 3 to 6 times a night. We are coming in and out of our sleep cycle. We're going in and out, in and out, in and out all the time. And this coming in and out is designed to help protect us from predators. So there you can see, when we had predators, when we had saber-toothed tigers, if we just slept like 8 hours solid with no awareness of the world around us, we would be prey for those saber-toothed tigers. So us coming out of our sleep cycle is part of our defense mechanism. Now, the reason you don't remember waking at night, the reason why it feels like you've slept through the night, is that you need to be awake for 5 minutes to remember it. And it's at that point that if you're awake for 5 minutes, you might have been woken by a trigger, and then you start to think about stuff: work, kids, relationships, that embarrassing thing you did 5 years ago in the pub, and you think 2 o'clock in the morning is the time to think about what a failure you are. That is what we do. And we beat ourselves up about it. But if you're a poor sleeper, nobody's sleeping through the night. And actually, I would argue what we call poor sleep is not poor sleep. Our bodies are designed that when we are stressed and anxious, we are not supposed to sleep. When we don't feel emotionally and physically secure, we're supposed to be awake because it protects us from predators. But what we need to do, we need to convince our bodies and our brain that we are safe, that we are emotionally and physically secure. That is what we need to do. So nobody sleeps through the night. And what we call poor sleep is not poor sleep, it's the way we're meant to be. And in fact, my argument would be that it is the good sleepers who are the anomalies, because they should not be here. Their ancestors should have got eaten millennia ago by a saber-toothed tiger. And if you are a good sleeper, you are welcome. My ancestors probably saved your ancestors. And if you live with a good sleeper and you're a poor sleeper, when you go home tonight, you can ask them to say thank you to you because your good sleep genes have actually helped keep them alive at some point. So we need to understand that sleep, the way we sleep, being stressed and anxious, and it impacts on our sleep. This is why we are here as humans. This is part of our defense mechanism, because a saber-toothed tiger is stronger, faster, sharper teeth than we have. But if we can run away and sit up a tree until it falls asleep and then run off, we're all right. So just bear that in mind when you're thinking about, I need to sleep through the night. Nobody does. What we need to do is help your body think it's slept through the night. So as a sleep practitioner who works mostly in organisations and sports teams, I've been doing this for nearly 10 years now. And I would say when I started doing it, I was often talking about insomnia. It was working with people in organisations who really had that genetic predisposition to poor sleep. They were suffering from classic insomnia. They were struggling to get sleep. They were waking up in the night, and it was because of it could be a misalignment of their body clock. It could have been they were hypervigilant due to stress and anxiety. Could be temperature issues, but it was what we dealt with in terms of CBTI and dealing with insomnia. And I would say now, most of the time, I am dealing with orthosomnia. So what is orthosomnia? Orthosomnia is poor sleep that has been caused by an over-obsession with sleep, a quest for perfect sleep, a desire to prioritize sleep to such an extent that we start to not sleep. That I would argue that right now in society, we have never been so aware of the importance of sleep. However, I would also argue that in the last pushing 10 years that I've been doing this, more and more people are sleeping worse. And it is because of this drive to be a perfect sleeper. We are treating sleep like it's exercise and nutrition. In simple terms, you can exercise more and you can force yourself to do it. In simple terms, you can eat healthier and you can force yourself to do it. But as we've discussed, you can't force yourself to sleep well. So the harder you try to sleep, the more you focus on your sleep, the more you obsess about sleep, the more you have experts talking about prioritizing, talking about obsession, telling you what you are doing wrong and why it's your fault, the less likely you are to sleep well. The more we have brands making quite wild claims about their products, selling you snake oil, talking codswallop, and giving you thoughts and fears that if this doesn't work, it must be you, because they've got all these Trustpilot reviews, they've got all these people, these celebrities, this person saying it's worked for them. That is what is causing most of the sleep issues I deal with right now. And we're going to look at some of the main drivers of this poor sleep. So over the past 10 years, there's been a trend towards tracking our sleep. You might be using a watch to track your sleep, Apple Watch, Fitbit, although Whoop is not a watch, it sits on your arm, the Garmin, all these things are tracking our sleep. You might be using a ring. You've got Huma, so you've got Aura, you've got Ultrahuman, and more brands coming on stream that are tracking your sleep using a ring. You've then got like an app on your phone that uses radio frequencies to track your sleep, like Sleep Cycle or Sleep Score Labs. You have products that sit on your mattress, like Eat Sleep, or Withings have a topper that sits on your sleep. And all these things are using an algorithm that they won't tell us what the algorithm is, but they're using an algorithm to use normally movement, heart rate, and temperature to give you an idea of how you're sleeping. And not just an idea, they're claiming that it can track sleep stages, so it can track how much deep sleep you've had, how much REM sleep you had, and how much non-REM 1 and non-REM 2, although they might call it light sleep in those cases. And tracking can, for some people, it can be helpful. So if you're a good sleeper, tracking is fine. It confirms how awesome you are. Good for you. So for good sleepers, it can work. For people who are trying to optimize sleep, so when I'm working with sleepers, I'm often working with two different groups of people. I'm working with poor sleepers. So these are people who are sleeping poorly right now and want to get better. But I'm also working with sleep optimizers. So in sport, I might be working with an optimizer. This is someone who sleeps okay, but would like to maybe see if they can get more out of their sleep. And often, good sleepers are maybe using it to optimize their sleep. You might have people who are all right sleepers, but they are trying to improve sleep. And I think it's those all right sleepers that are the most interested. It depends on their mindset, how a tracker affects them. I've worked with people who, if they are tracking their sleep and they like data, they may be a CEO who runs a company, and that CEO likes to know if we've done well today or we haven't. He looks at sale figures just before bed, and whether they're good or bad, that helps him sleep better because he knows what is happening. So that sort of mindset, that works really well. Now, if you are an okay sleeper or poor sleeper whose mindset is you've got that data, but you don't really know what to do with it, and you've got no way of contextualizing it, because one thing trackers are particularly bad at is the context they give to your poor sleep. Their advice is normally quite prescriptive, uses sleep hygiene rules. So it's the obvious stuff that poor sleepers have all tried and not worked for them. It might be drink no caffeine, might be stop using your phone before bed. It might be have a dark room, have a cool room. They're just giving you like general generic advice. Without that context for most people. So I'd say some people, trackers can be a good thing and they can help them understand their sleep better and get better sleep. I work with people with trackers on a regular basis. For most people, in my experience, and I've worked with hundreds of thousands of poor sleepers, I would say trackers, it tells you something you already know. You know you're not sleeping well. Why do you need a tracker to help you? It's not an intervention. The intervention part of it is quite poor. It's a measurement tool. And it's a very inaccurate measurement tool. That is one of my other concerns about trackers. They make claims around their accuracy. So they will say that this tracker is 93% accurate compared to PSG, which is polysomnograph. This is the thing you're probably seeing where lots and lots of sensors on you, and when you go into a sleep lab, and that's how people are tracked in a sleep lab. So I'll make this comparison to a polysomnograph. Aura probably is the one that comes out best when that comparison is made. Some of them don't compare, so I don't think Sleep Cycle compares. I might be wrong, but they often are comparing to how accurate they are to PSG. But you don't use PSG in your home, so your tracker is using in your home. It's not really the same thing. But that's one way that they're trying to prove it. But I would argue, particularly with REM sleep, that you might as well ask a chocolate teapot how well you slept in terms of REM sleep, because they're having a bit of a guess about it, and this is where when I've worked with footballers who are using a tracking band, and it's telling them that they're sleeping so really poorly. But I can tell by looking at them and seeing their performances, they're not sleeping that bad. But the tracker is telling them they are sleeping quite poorly. And when you talk to the people behind the tracking brands, you talk to the researchers, and particularly people who've left, what you start to understand is the algorithms are not necessarily designed to track your sleep accurately or to help you sleep better. They're designed to keep you coming back to the app. So from what I am told, often these algorithms have got more in common with Candy Crush than they have with a health app. They are trying to work out whether you are motivated by fear. Oh, you've only got a 20 sleep score, and most people your age and gender are doing better than you. Or are you motivated by success? Well done. Pat on the head, you've got a 100 sleep score. So it's actually quite easy to get a 100 sleep score on some of these devices. You've got a 100 sleep score, keep going. Because these are companies, these are commercial brands. They want you to keep coming back to their devices and their apps. The best way to do that is to work out whether you're motivated by fear or motivated by a pat on the back. And because their KPI is, their key performance indicator on this will be stickiness. How often do you return to the app? I would argue that if you're using a tracker, you probably don't need to use it for more than a couple of months, because at that point you've understood your sleep well enough that you can stop using that tracker, but that means you'll stop paying £30 a month subscription. And this is where trackers can be more useful, is in trends. So if we're trending and we're looking at how we're sleeping over a couple of weeks and see if there's any anomalies, rather than looking at our sleep night on night, because when we look at our sleep night on night, we start to worry about it. So I would argue that for most people, you would better off charging your tracker overnight than using it for sleep. Now, one of the interesting pieces of research around tracking, and there's more and more research coming out, there's been a couple of studies that have shown something quite clearly, that no matter how well you have slept, if your tracker tells you you have slept poorly, that will affect your cognitive performance the next day. So it doesn't matter if you've got 8 hours or 4 hours, if you're told you'll slept poorly, you'll perform worse the next day. And one of the pieces of research, they changed the results only by 5%. Now, I'm pretty certain, I was looking at the research on this last week, there isn't a tracker that gets within 5% of a polysomnograph. So no tracker is, based on that piece of research, is accurate enough to not be affecting your sleep negatively if it is underestimating your sleep. It's telling you you've slept poorly when you've actually slept better than that. And if we are told we've slept poorly, whether we've slept well or not, and we perform worse the next day, then tracking your sleep, if we want to make a bit of a jump here, it leads to worse performance. So I think when it comes to tracking your sleep, just make a decision for yourself, but understand how those figures and that data impacts on your body's ability to sleep and your reaction to it and your stress and anxiety levels. So what I use rather than tracking sleep when I'm working with people, I get them to ask themselves these 3 questions. I call this my kipometer. This is my way of working out if people are sleeping well. So the first question I ask is, how quickly did you fall asleep last night? One of the myths about sleep is that we believe if we fall asleep like that, as soon as my head hits the pillow, James, I fall asleep. I'm a brilliant sleeper. That doesn't mean you're a good sleeper. That's an indicator you're sleep deprived. You have not met your sleep need in the nights previous. So if it is less than 5 minutes, that would indicate there's a bit of an issue and we would want to do something about it. Between 6 minutes and 30 minutes, that's okay, that's good. That's how long it should take you to fall asleep. You probably want to be aware that you are falling asleep. If it's more than 30 minutes, you're starting to move towards it being like insomnia. You're starting to move towards it being an issue. If that's happening on a regular basis, 3 times a week, well, 3 days consecutively in a week for more than 3 weeks, you might want to start doing something about it. And if I'm working with athletes, we have 3 nights of falling asleep with more than 30 minutes, we want to intervene. One of the easy things you can do is try going to bed a little bit later. It might be you're going to bed a little bit too early for your body's natural rhythm, or you're going to bed a little bit too stressed and you just need to wind down for a little bit longer. Second question we ask is, how many times do you remember waking in the night? Now, like we've said, everybody wakes in the night 3 to 6 times. But if you don't remember waking in the night at all, they're the nights I love. That's good quality sleep. Well done. If you wake up once or twice, that's fine. You've got up, you've had a wee, you've gone back to bed. As we get older, it gets more difficult to sleep through the night. If you wake up 3 or more times, or you wake up less than that but for more than half an hour, then we want to do something about it. So how many times do you remember waking in the night? And the last question, we've already touched on this. How do you feel at 10, 11 in the morning? Alert and active? Great. Okay? All right. Lethargic? Struggling to get going? Then we probably want to do something about that. So that's how you can track your sleep. This is an easy way. Just write down somewhere in a diary or something these 3 questions. You can use smiley faces to give an answer. You can use numbers, but this is a way of tracking your sleep. See if anything changes without it becoming all-consuming, without it becoming trying to search for perfectionism, and without it making your sleep worse. So next thing that I'm often finding at the moment when I'm working in organisations, what is impacts on people's sleep, is the 5 a.m. club. Now, if you're a practitioner watching this, I know I've got some of my colleagues who also help people sleep better. We talk about this a lot. It is frustrating, the idea that we should be waking up at 5 o'clock to do a hobby. Now, don't get me wrong, some people have to get up at 5 in the morning because of work or because of caring responsibilities, and I support those people, and we can get people awake at that time, and we can do our best, normally using light therapy. You might use like a pair of light therapy glasses or a light box, using light therapy to wake them up at 5 in the morning, using bright light and to get them awake. But those people who do shift work, those people who have to go and get up at 5 in the morning to do caring, they would question anybody, because they know how hard it is, who would get up at 5 in the morning to go and do something that is basically a hobby. So the 5 a.m. club is becoming more and more of a concern. And like many of the things we're going to talk about in terms of orthosomnia, it is adjacent to some truth. So light early in the day is great for your sleep and great for your body's health generally. Because light says to your body, we've woke up. And when your body knows we've woke up, it can start building that appetite for sleep. So light is incredibly important early in your day. Not Andrew Huberman's day, not some other podcaster, not your yoga teacher who's telling you need to go see the sunrise once a week. That isn't going to be helpful for your sleep. If you've got a PT and they're saying to you, you need to be up at 5 a.m. to exercise because that's the time they've got an appointment, but you are an hour, because again, our sleep type comes into this. If you're waking up at 5 a.m. naturally, go and do what you want. You crack on, cocker. I have not got a problem with that. But if you're waking up at 5 a.m, you're setting your alarm to get up at 5 a.m. because you've been told you need to see the sunrise to be healthy. You've been told you need to go and do some exercise by your PT. You've been told by Andrew Huberman, this is the secret to success. That's not true. Because sleep is so incredibly important to your physical and mental health. So if this is not to create some sort of competition between sleep and exercise, but I would argue, I'm now going to create some competition between sleep and exercise. I would argue, in that hierarchy of health, food, water, air, and sleep, exercise does not even appear. You could, if you did not exercise for 10 days, you would be fine. It would not affect your overall health at all. If you didn't sleep for 10 days, you'd be dead. So why, as a society, do we fetishize one thing that's a nice to have over another thing that's a must have? Because you must have sleep. So if you're exercising for your mental health, I can guarantee you that waking yourself up, when you're probably in REM sleep, the stage of sleep where your brain goes to an overnight counselling session, to then go and do some exercise is not going to be good for your mental health. Try and exercise later in the day. If it's that important to your mental health, find space later in the day. The most important thing to your mental health in terms of what you are doing is your sleep. That connection between mental health and sleep is so strong that your sleep is your number one recovery tool. And actually, if you're exercising in the morning at 5 a.m. and you haven't met your sleep need, that is actually worse for you. Research shows that is worse for you than not exercising at all. So just consider, again, I'm not your mum, you need to make the decision yourself, but please consider the importance of sleep when you are getting up at 5 a.m. to exercise. Because if you're a lark, which is the least common sleep type, that is fine. But if you're an owl, it's not going to help you. And actually, owls are the sleep type that is most impacted by mental health issues. Research shows us this, and I think we need to make sure that we are exercising in line with our body's natural rhythm. Because I work with lots and lots of successful people, and every single one of them is different. And waking up early does not make you a success. Waking up early does not mean that you are going to be better than those people around you. Meeting your sleep need is the secret to success. So please focus on meeting your sleep need as opposed to waking yourself in REM sleep. Then the next thing we'll talk about in terms of orthosomnia, the biggest driver of business for Kitmate, the thing that creates more poor sleepers than anything else in the world, I would argue, is Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep. A brilliant book, a really interesting book. The science in it is fascinating. I think it's really well written. No, it is so helpful in understanding how sleep works. On the downside, it has lots and lots of scary messages in there. I'll have a conversation on a regular basis and it goes like this. Oh, hello, James. What do you do? I'm a sleep expert. Oh, I've read a book about sleep. I think I know what's coming. Yeah, it was really interesting. I found loads out of it. I've not really slept well since, though, because it tells me that I'm going to die if I have less than 7 hours sleep for one night, and now I can't sleep. And it's not surprising, because as poor sleepers and the way our body reacts to stress and anxiety, as we've talked about, the way we cannot force ourselves to sleep, as we've talked about, being told if you don't get 7 hours sleep, let's say it's 5 to 12 and you've got to get up at 7. At 5 to 12, you're thinking, if I don't fall asleep in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to die. That is not helpful for your sleep. And I'd argue that although there has been questions about the research in this book, and I'm not a researcher, so I'm not going to dig too deep into that, my biggest concern about this book is the impact it has had on people. I worked with one organisation where I was brought in because the company had a book club. Guess which book they read that meant 60 people started not sleeping and I had to go and work with them? That's correct. I would argue that Matthew is not alone within sleep expertise of believing that poor sleepers are stupid and that we need to be scared into sleeping better. And this is not true. It really is not true. I can reassure any expert out there who believes that what we need to do is raise awareness of the impact of on our health of poor sleep. But I can tell you, poor sleepers know the impact on their health. They feel it every single day. They don't need to be told that if they have less than 4 hours sleep for 5 nights, less than 5 hours sleep for 5 nights, they're going to get diabetes. They don't need to be told if they don't meet their sleep need, they will have smaller testicles and they won't be able to have children. This doom and gloom, this Grinch approach to sleep doesn't help us sleep better. So if you are a poor sleeper, don't read that book. Or from a commercial point of view, if you are a poor sleeper, read that book and then come and work with me. All joking aside, I really think that we need to consider the messaging, the way we talk about sleep. We need to give people better understanding, which is what we're trying to do today, rather than create fear. Whether it's experts or it's brands, creating fear might lead to clicks, might lead to views, might lead to book sales, might lead to more sales of our product, but it doesn't help people sleep better, and that's what we are focused on. So just don't listen to the fear. Listen to what your body's telling you. So, and the next thing we're going to talk about in terms of orthosomnia and over obsession with sleep, trying to force sleep, is mouth taping. And mouth taping is probably here as an example of lots and lots of different things that people are talking about that are often over-egged when it comes to sleeping better. A good example recently I've seen is red light bulbs in the fridge or a piece of red tape on your bidet. Mouth taping is very similar in terms of, is there actually much science behind it in terms of it helping people sleep better? So these are claims that mouth taping make. That mouth taping will help you get deeper, often that's the word you use, deeper, and more restful, again, not really a measurable thing, sleep. It claims that it will stop you snoring. It claims it will make you more attractive, that it changes the construct of your face, it makes you more attractive. I did read something yesterday that I got through LinkedIn about how that claim is not true. That it cures sleep apnea. We've seen this claim quite a lot, that it's a cure of sleep apnea. And you'll win a gold medal. Although the Olympian in the video, in the picture there, they actually won a silver medal. It was just someone on TikTok claimed they won a gold medal. And I would argue that, like many of these sort of like one-size-fits-all health fads where they claim lots and lots of health benefits, there is a lot of, it's adjacent to the truth. You know, we've talked about this already, adjacent to the truth. Nasal breathing is healthier for us. Nasal breathing does improve our health in terms of like our dental health and our respiratory health, and nasal breathing will help improve your health, will help relax you more, and therefore will help you sleep better. It is the way that we go about making these claims that I have most concerns about. So let's look at the idea that mouth taping stops snoring. Because I'm going to look at the sleep stuff. So mouth taping stops snoring. Mouth taping, yeah, it will stop snoring. But what mouth taping brands claim is that they will say that the reason you're snoring is because your mouth is open. What I would say, and challenge that, is the reason your mouth is open is because you are snoring. Because normally you're snoring because you have some sort of blockage in your respiratory system somewhere, in your nasal passages. It could be that you've got sleep apnea, so you're stopping breathing during the night. So we're going to touch on sleep apnea later, and I'll explain what sleep apnea is then. But sleep apnea stops us breathing in the night. So it could be sleep apnea is happening, it could be a nasal blockage, it could be something else affecting your respiratory system, and you're opening your mouth because your mouth is your backup. We would rather breathe through our nose, but if we can't breathe through our nose, what do? We breathe through our mouth. So if we then start to tape our backup, we start to force our mouth to be shut, then that might cause some problems. And it's interesting with mouth taping. I do meet people from time to time who've mouth tape and they say it improves their sleep. Most of the people who anecdotally claiming that it helps them improve their sleep are the people selling the mouth tape. It's on their TikTok videos, it's on their Instagram videos, and it's people like that athlete who was actually a breathwork coach, and he's in his commercial interest to be promoting mouth taping. That is where most of the positive stories around mouth taping that I see come from. The stories I get with the 100,000 people I work with is that people have tried it and felt quite claustrophobic. They've tried it and they've done something called mouth puffing. if they've done it in a certain way, or they've done it and they've woke up gasping for air. So I do talk to people a lot about mouth taping, and the majority of stories I hear from poor sleepers, because that's my audience, is that they've tried it and it has caused these things. Also creates a lot of anxiety in people. I've worked with someone I was working with last year who was incredibly anxious about the fact that she couldn't mouth tape. That, she was in tears about it. She'd read all the health benefits and she felt it was the reason why, and she was neurodivergent, and she felt like that because of some of the claims made around mouth breathing and neurodivergence, she felt that if she didn't learn how to mouth tape, she would be less healthy for her entire life. And that's what it does to people. She was in tears because of the claims that are being made that are over-egged. So let's talk about the evidence. In terms of mouth taping helping you sleep better, there's no evidence at all in terms of research. So that is, there is anecdotal evidence, and I've met people who have tried so many weird and wonderful things to help themselves sleep better. If it works for you, then that's great. But we need to make sure that we haven't got an underlying respiratory issue when we're doing it. Because my biggest criticism of mouth taping is it stops people who snore, it stops people with sleep apnea going to get the treatment they need. Because if we just stop the symptom, we stop ourselves snoring. We're not addressing the underlying issue, and the underlying issue is still there. So it's that reason that I feel mouth taping is unsafe, because it's people with quite a serious sleep disorder aren't getting the treatment that they need because they are trying something that is improving. When it comes to sleep apnea, there's been 2 small pieces of research on mild sleep apnea, and they have shown people with mild sleep apnea it has improved the symptoms slightly. That is it. Both research studies were on less than 20 people, and they were poorly constructed. They also made sure that people's nasal air passages were clear. So it was in a clinical setting that made sure people's nasal passages were clear. When you see a celebrity mouth taping, bear in mind that they will have access to some of the best medical care in the world. They will have more than likely checked to make sure that they don't have any underlying issues that might cause problems with mouth taping. So mouth taping is something that at the moment is a hot topic in sleep, a hot topic in our health. Dragon's Den, there's an article there. Dragon's Den did remove a mouth taping brand from one of their programs because in a couple of weeks previous, they had someone selling ear seeds to cure chronic fatigue, and then the mouth taping episode was coming up and the BBC pulled it. They've never revealed why they pulled that episode, but I think from some of the stuff I've said, you can probably make your own connections. Other things you can do to help snoring and sleep apnea that aren't mouth taping, you could try losing weight. I have a mouth taping build, as you can see. If I hit a certain weight, sleep apnea symptoms occur, so you could try to lose weight. You could try stopping drinking alcohol or eating spicy food. That would help. That would help your help with these symptoms. You could try positional therapy. So you could try sleeping on your side. So getting a pillow, filling this gap so the pillow fills that gap properly. Using a maternity pillow, so one of those like sausage pillows. You wrap your legs and arms around it, and it keeps you on your side. That's really helpful in helping you sleep on your side and reduce snoring. You could try chin strap. So actually some mouth taping, as you can see from that picture, it goes around here and that keeps your mouth closed. But then you can open it as well if you need to. And that is clearly going to be safer than just mouth taping like that. Because my argument with mouth tape is, you mouth tape like that, that's putting you at risk. You mouth tape safely like that, well, you can breathe around it. So that sort of mouth tape is trying to overcome those issues. I would argue that mouth tape costs roughly about £27 a packet. I would argue use a chin strap. It does the same thing. Chin strap goes around your neck, keeps your mouth in the position you want, helps actually reduce snoring rather than stop snoring, because it changes where your jaw is, and costs about £45 and you buy it once. So maybe not the most alluring thing to your partner, but it's nothing less sexy than snoring. So maybe try a chin strap, or you can get a mouth guard from your dentist. You could try a mouth guard from your dentist, and that could solve the issue. So when it comes to mouth taping, I think there's things that are better at preventing snoring. There's things that are better at helping you sleep better, and I don't think there'd be much effort to prove that mouth taping works beyond TikTok videos making ridiculous claims. So we talked about sleep apnea. I just want to go a little bit more in depth on sleep apnea. Sleep apnea, we reckon there's 1.6 million people with undiagnosed sleep apnea in the UK. So it's really important that we start to raise awareness about sleep apnea. This is why when we reduce the symptoms and stop people going to get treatment for sleep apnea by mouth taping, why it's an issue for me. Snoring and sleep apnea, the sounds we make can be different. So some of the symptoms of sleep apnea are You wake up with excessive daytime sleepiness. You've had 8 hours of sleep, but you still feel shattered. You get a really blinding headache. The noise you make can be an indicator of when you sleep, and snore can be an indicator of sleep apnea. So snoring sounds more like, with sleep apnea, prepare yourself, it's not a nice sound, it's more. So if you or your partner makes that noise, it needs to be solved. You need to start doing something about it. So if you sleep next to someone who makes that noise, you need to start investigating how we solve it, because it can contribute to heart disease, it can contribute to stroke, it can contribute to COPD, and it can impact on our underlying health. It is a life-limiting condition. On rare occasions, people do die from it. They stop breathing and they totally stop breathing, because that noise is being made by you stopping breathing, and it's your body trying to breathe again. So if you suffer it, it might be you stop. It seems to your partner, you stop breathing, and then you wake up, you start making that noise, which is a real common indicator of sleep apnea. There's such strong treatment pathways for sleep apnea in the NHS. Well, there can be long waiting lists in some areas because it's a respiratory disorder, and treatment was significantly impacted by the COVID effort, but it is something that can be treated. And getting the right diagnosis and the right treatment is really important. And it's something at KitMate that we do. One of the services we offer is screening, diagnosis, and treatment of sleep apnea. With one of our partners, and if you are interested, you can talk to Latest Group, and they can put you in the right direction. Because if you have people in your organisation who maybe they are a driver, for example, or they are somebody who is in a health and safety critical job, then suffering from sleep apnea, being prone to falling asleep during the day, is going to make them a less safe employee. So if you want to talk to anyone more about that, you can talk to Latest Group, and they will put you in touch with me. So sleep apnea is underdiagnosed. We'd like to see more diagnosis, and we'd like to see less people using mouth taping when they are showing the symptoms of sleep apnea.
James, just do the impression of sleep apnea again. I think the microphone.
Okay, because you might have to do it too loud. So the impression of sleep apnea is. I spend hours in front of a mirror practicing that. I'm really good at it now. I hope you got that. The next sort of thing that causes an obsession with sleep is often people looking for those quick fixes. And it can be drugs, both legal and illegal. So I would say one of the most common conversations I have about sleep is I'll be at a dinner party and someone will say to me, it's normally a fella, will go, "Oh, James, I don't need your help. I sleep fine. I drink a bottle of wine every night and I'm out like a log." That is a lot of wine. That's not my area of expertise. I think you had a sober expert on recently, I think, didn't you? And that'd be something to talk to Dave about as opposed to me. However, the way that alcohol impacts on your sleep is alcohol is a sedative. It knocks you out. It doesn't give you sleep. So if you're using alcohol to sleep, that isn't sleep you're getting. That's sedation. It also is a drug. It is an amazing drug. It also stimulates. So after about 7 hours, it starts to stimulate. So if you've ever had a skinful, you've gone to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you woke up at 5, wide awake, thinking, why am I awake? That is the beauty of alcohol. And I'd argue the symptoms of a hangover are actually sleep deprivation. You crave junk food, you want to have a nap, and you're quite teary and emotional because you've not met your sleep need of whatever stupid thing you've done the night before when drunk. So alcohol is not helping you sleep better. Sleeping pills, again, most common thing that we're given as a cure for our sleep problems. These are sedatives. Often they're mostly sedatives. They are not helping you sleep better. So they are going to knock you out. They are good for people who have been good sleepers, have maybe gone through a bereavement, and now they just need to remind their bodies how to sleep. But they are not good for someone with long-term underlying insomnia. They're not good for someone who's had long-term sleep issues. So sleeping pills aren't really doing the job we think they can do. Caffeine directly impacts on the body's ability to sleep. General rule, 6 hours from less caffeine to sleep in your 30s, 12 hours in your 60s. We become more sensitive to caffeine as we get older, but you all metabolize caffeine at different rates. You all know someone who has a cup of tea before bed. My wife has a cup of tea before bed. She's a brilliant sleeper. I've worked with footballers who love Italian footballers who love espresso before bed, slept fine. To them, it's an emotional cuddle. For my wife, a cup of tea reminds her of a grandma because she used to have a cup of tea with grandma before she went to bed. It's not always about getting it right biologically. Sometimes it's about how we feel emotionally. Remember that physical and emotional security. So sometimes caffeine drinks can help people in that. However, you need to work out your own metabolic rate for caffeine. You need to work out how caffeine affects you. If I have a glass of Coke at 7 in the evening, and I do sometimes because I am rock and roll, I'll be up at 4 in the morning, wide awake, because that's how caffeine affects my body. It's not fair for poor sleepers. A lot of the world isn't fair, but it is me, and I need to accept that. Nicotine is a stimulant. When you feel more relaxed, when you vape or you take nicotine by smoking, that's you feeding the symptoms of the addiction. But underlying that is stimulating you. One of the biggest causes of waking up in the middle of the night is for a vape. So just bear that in mind when it comes to nicotine. Melatonin, another quite frequently used hormone. I'm working with someone at the moment who's basically overdosed on melatonin because the GP gave him melatonin for sleep, 6 milligrams. That's a lot. All that had happened to them was a life event that meant their sleep was disturbed. We shouldn't, it didn't need melatonin. Melatonin tells your body whether it's light or dark. If your problem, like for jet lag, it can be really helpful. For most people who are suffering from insomnia, it's not going to have much of an impact. And actually, your body can get used to that overdose of melatonin and it can make things worse. Things like illegal drugs like THC or like cannabis or weed, that will feel like sleep, but there is research to show that THC really impacts on the body's ability to have REM sleep, the emotional part of sleep. So taking a drug like cannabis whilst also it affecting that part of your sleep is probably not best for your mental well-being. So just bear that in mind as well. So when it comes to sleep, the drugs don't work. They only make things worse. So there's some of the myths, the fads, the things that are driving our orthosomnia. So what should we actually do when it comes to our sleep? So we start off with, as we said, we understand ourselves as a sleeper. That's the starting point. Are you good or bad? Hot or cold sleeper? Where you sit on that line between larks and owls? What is your sleep need? All these things are the things that we need to understand about ourselves. Now, if you're in a relationship, it's quite interesting because often in a relationship, we're attracted to the opposite sleep type to us. You'll have a hot sleeper with a cold sleeper, a good sleeper with a poor sleeper, an owl with a lark. And in a relationship, that can cause arguments. It can cause a fight. It can cause, especially if one of you in the relationship is a sleep dictator, lots and lots of problems. Now, what's a sleep dictator, James, you might ask? A sleep dictator is that person in a relationship who says, we're going to bed at this time, before bed we are doing this, and we're waking up at this time. Now I couldn't care whether you're sleeping or not because I'm sleeping fine and that's what's important. Good example, I'll give you some examples of the sleep dictators I have come across. Not work with them, I'm only working with their partners. Someone who would cut their toenails in bed with a head torch while their partner was trying to get to sleep. Someone who would game in bed, no headphones, TV bed, gaming away while the partner's trying to sleep. My favourite, the fella who would have a sandwich in bed while his wife was trying to get to sleep. When I asked why, it was because mummy would bring him a sandwich every night. That's not a sleep issue. That's a different sort of issue. But this is examples of sleep dictatorial behaviour. Now, if you are a sleep dictator, and if you are smiling right now, you probably are, stop it. It's not fair on the rest of the world. If you live with a sleep dictator, brothers and sisters, I will free you from that fascist regime you are living under. You can go and tell them, blame me. That sleep fella, he says that you need to stop making me. It's not me, I love you. He said, though, that you're a problem. Have a compassionate conversation. How do you create a sleep routine that works for both people? How do you create a sleep environment that works for both people? How do you sleep better together? Because if you're getting on in the bedroom when it comes to sleep, you're going to get on in the bedroom in the other way as well. So understanding yourself as a sleeper and understand the people around you. Understand your life and how it impacts on your sleep. Your work. Does work mean that you're going to bed, you're rushing to bed because you finish work late? Give yourself more time to wind down. Your kids, if they're not sleeping, you're not sleeping. At KitMate, we have kids sleep practitioners who can help your children sleep better. Your relationships, what we just talked about. Are you living with a sleep dictator? Say no to sleep dictatorship. Your hobbies. Call of Duty does not relax you before bed. I don't care what you tell me. It does not relax you before bed. Your pets. More and more, I'm dealing with pets' sleep issues. That's why KitMate has the UK's only sleep vet, because more and more people are bringing their pets into the bedroom and their pets are stopping them from sleeping. So what in your life is impacted on your sleep? And then think about the triggers. What is causing your sleep issue? Is it a sleep disorder? Sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, narcolepsy, idiopathic hypersomnia? Is it something that's a disorder, chronic insomnia? Is it something that is stopping you from sleeping? Is it another medical issue? I've got retinitis pigmentosa and Stargardt's disease. These are problems with my eyes. More and more, I'm understanding that those problems with my eyes are actually one of the reasons why I never slept well. So it could be another sleep issue that is affecting your sleep. Have you got a misaligned body clock? You're going to sleep at a time that's not in line with your body's natural rhythm. Are you stressed and anxious? Is it light and noise? So you're being woken up by the fella down the road who slams his car door at 4 a.m. You're struggling to get to sleep. So what is happening in the hour before bed? You're waking up in the night. So what is pulling you out of your sleep during the night? It might be like you're sleeping in your front. One of the first questions I ask people when I'm doing my job is, what position do you sleep in? Because if you sleep on your front, you're sleeping like this. Stand like that for 8 hours, see what it feels like. You can't move, you're coming out your sleep cycle because you can't move, you're getting back problems, you're getting neck problems. One of the big mattress retailers done a big campaign around how mattresses can help you improve your back health. They are right, but if you're a mattress retailer and you're talking about back health and you have a section on your website that says which pillow is right for you for front sleeping, then you're not taking this stuff seriously. Because if you sleep on your front, it doesn't really matter what else you're doing, it's going to make it harder for me to solve your sleep issues. So start to sleep on your side. Are you too hot? You need a drop in core temperature and a drop in heart rate to fall asleep. So if you're too hot in bed, what can you do about it? Try separate duvets. Your partner's heat is making you hotter. You can have a lighter duvet to what they've got. Stay clear of things like foam mattresses. Don't make the room too warm. Temperature is so important to our sleep. And have you got a bad mattress or pillow? Now, if your sleep is the foundation that your health is built upon, your mattress and pillow are the foundation that your sleep is built on. It doesn't. Again, if you are suffering from back or neck pain, a meditation app will not help. You can meditate till the cows come home. It won't solve that problem. Too many people are not looking at like the easy stuff, like is your mattress doing the job it should? They're trying to do the hard stuff, like I'll spend 30 quid a month on a sleep supplement. Think about what is actually stopping you from sleeping. And when we've done that, we need to think about how we're reacting to that poor sleep. What are we doing to then try and mitigate waking up in the middle of the night? What are we doing to try and help ourselves fall back to sleep or to fall asleep when we go into bed? So as I said, really important to remember, you need to drop your heart rate and drop your core temperature. So if you're trying to get to sleep, you need to ask yourself, does this thing make me more anxious, raise my heart rate, make me hotter? So what are you doing in your wind down routine? If you're looking at work emails just before bed, that will help you sleep. If you are on social media, looking at what Sandra from school's been up to, and you hated Sandra at school, that will make you angry. That will not help you sleep better. So if you are, like, what are you watching? What are you listening to? What you're reading? If you are watching the news, there's no good news right now. If you are watching Luther, you are solving a crime in Luther. In an episode of Luther, someone dropped out of an attic and killed everyone in their beds. And let's be honest, Luther is a good-looking man. So he will raise your heart rate, he will raise your core temperature, and you will not be able to sleep. So think about what you're watching. It's got to be something funny. What's your favourite rom-com? What's your favourite sitcom? Something repetitive. Bake Off. They're going to bake a cake. You know what's going to happen. Something trashy. Married at First Sight. You don't need to concentrate on that programme. You know what's going to happen. Two people who've never met get married and have loads of arguments. Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? And the best thing about Married at First Sight, because that is my most favourite thing to watch before bed, at least you're not them. At least your life has not got to the point that you're going on telly admitting you can't pull. So think about what you're doing in the hour before bed in terms of waking up in the middle, winding down. Secondly, how are you reacting to wake up in the night? Because what happens with most of us, and this is my problem, your mind wonders. I wonder if I sent that email. I wonder if the kids' PE kit's clean. I wonder why I didn't say that right funny thing to that fella 5 years ago in pub when he was calling me a dipstick. That's the time that we think about what a failure we are in the middle of the night. What we need our brain to do is wander. those iggledy-piggledy thoughts you get just before you drop off to sleep. So to encourage this, you could try listening to something. Your hearing is your alarm system of your body. So if you relax your hearing, the rest of your body will follow suit. Spoken word book you've read before. Music you love. Happy memories. No breakup songs, no Adele. Talk radio, meditation apps, all that stuff can help. Try mind games, the A to Z of anything. My favourite is A to Z of non-league teams. Count back from 1,000. You could try that. You could try, you can just think of things that you can do that will distract your mind. Breathing exercises, box breathing, can be really, really powerful. So it's addressing this issue. Now, that won't happen overnight. If you struggle and you wake up in the night, you do this once, your body will still think you want to be awake in the night. You've got to do it over and over again. To get your body to get used to, we need to be relaxed during in the night. And if you're in bed, so you can do it, like, you'll see some advice, go out of the room to do this. I'd argue with that for some people, leaving the room is actually saying to your body, I'm now awake. So if you can do it in bed and that suits you, you'll sleep alone, do it in bed. If your partner being asleep doesn't annoy you, do it in bed. Because if your partner lays there next to you, going, and you're thinking, I'm going to kill you, that does not help you sleep. Go back to the first thing we talked about, drop your heart rate, drop your core temperature, that raises your core temperature. So maybe leave the room if your partner annoys you during the night. But you need to not just lay there. You get to 30 minutes and you're not asleep, you need to do something about it. And then finally, the way we react to sleep for poor sleepers, the most powerful thing we can do is start to change our mindset around our sleep. Yes, you might be a poor sleeper. Yes, you might struggle to get to sleep, but what you are brilliant at is being tired. What you're world class at is being tired. You will always get through tomorrow because you always get through tomorrow. You have got millions of stories about the time you slept poorly and performed amazingly. That's the story to tell yourself at 2 o'clock in the morning, not the story of failure. Not, I've got 4 hours to get sleep, I've got 3 hours to get sleep, I've got 2 hours to get sleep, I've got 1 hour to get sleep. That doesn't help you. You're brilliant at being tired. You're world class at being tired. You have done it a million times before. So just let your body take over. Because the best thing for a good night's sleep tonight is a bad night's sleep last night. As long as you can turn your brain off. And that's what we need to try and do. So, just going to tell you a little bit about KitMate. At KitMate, and while I'm doing this, think of your questions because we're going to do a Q&A section in a minute. At KitMate, what we do is we support organisations and sports teams to get the best sleep they can. We have seminars, webinars, drop-in sessions, and a digital app called Sort Your Kip that allows people to access the knowledge of me and my fellow experts. And we do sessions on things like general sleep, mental health, anxiety, stress, and sleep. We do things on the top 3 questions that I get about sleep. For sport, we do sleeping away from home. We do night after a game, night before a game. We do things like sleep posture, how drugs impact on athletes' sleep, how to get best sleep we can as athletes. We do menopause and sleep. We do shift work and sleep. So if you've got shift work aspect to your organisation, we help your people optimise their sleep as much as possible for shift work. And then we do things like kids and sleep, pets and sleep. We do sleep and nutrition, neurodivergence and sleep. And we also do that screening, diagnosis and treatment of serious sleep disorders. If you would like to find out more about it, you can get in touch with Latest. There will be an email going out to all people in the who have attended the webinar tomorrow with details on what we offer and some special offers as well to hopefully help you and your people get the kip that you need. So there we go. That's it for me. I'm going to give you a little disclaimer right now. You might sleep worse tonight because you'll be laid there thinking, what did that fella say about sleep? Actually, my pillow is rubbish. I need to get a new one. But I would say just pick a couple of things that we've talked about. Think about how to react to waking up in the night. And the one final tip I will leave you with that is probably the most powerful thing that the people I work with do is that getting ready for bed an hour before bed. If you get ready for bed an hour before bed, then you are more likely to be able to get to sleep and fall asleep. Because what we do is we'll be sat on the sofa, we'll be winding down, getting ready for sleep. Then all of a sudden we just get up and we start doing stuff. We'll put the pets out, we'll turn the gas off, we'll check the dishwasher, the utility room, take our makeup off, brush our teeth, and we're awake again. So if you're ready for bed with a targeted sleep time, but if you feel sleepy, go to sleep because that's your body telling you it's time for bed. So pajamas, fluffy slippers, dressing gown, and you're good to go. Time for some questions.
what tips would you give to women who are suffering from the menopause to help their sleep?
We spend a lot of time, I think, like working with women living with the menopause or perimenopausal. I would say that the first thing is to accept that sleep's going to be different. So with the women that I work with around the menopause, one of the most difficult things is like sleep has changed. If you're a woman who has always slept well, you maybe always been a good sleeper, your kids have slept well, you've not had kids. As the menopause hits, it is like being hit by a ton of bricks. And it may be that you've got to accept if you drink alcohol, it will have a significant impact on your ability to sleep. If you have too much caffeine, it will have a significant impact on your sleep. If you're stressed and anxious. So you may have never had a wind down routine ever before. You might need one now. You may have always just like drank alcohol and slept fine. You might not now. You may need to adjust things like your sleep environment. So if temperature is an issue, as I said, separate duvets can be really powerful. That might be like you having a bamboo sheet and your partner having a 13.5 tog duvet. Because their heat coming to your side of the bed makes it worse. So I think about that. So you have like maybe change what you're sleeping under, what you're sleeping on. If you sleep on anything with foaming, whether it's gel foam, whether it's memory foam, whether it's something like latex, these things aren't very breathable. And I think unfortunately, you get, especially with like gel foam, this foam, it does stay cool for about an hour before bed. But foam as a material is an insulator. So whatever you do with it, if a product has some foam in it, it makes it a little bit hotter. And really, the best thing you can have as a mattress for hot flashes is natural fillings and springs. So you get some nice airflow through the mattress, and it makes it easier for you to sleep. Like I say, it's accepting that you maybe have got to wind down properly before bed. You might be waking more in the night. You might have to start addressing that. So all these sort of tools we've talked about, what to do before bed, what to do in the night, they apply when living with the menopause. I think the temperature stuff is definitely more so, and it is this like, yeah, I really get it's not fair, but you've maybe got to accept that sleep is more difficult and start to make some changes and do things that you've never done before, like wind down before bed, like react to waking up in the night differently.
How can you advise on anything that could help restless legs?
I think the restless legs, if it's restless, if it's to an extent that on a regular basis you are not being able to sleep because you are restless, I think the first thing to do is go and talk to GP about it, because this is a sleep disorder and it's something that you can talk to GP about it. Things we can do before that or alongside that, you could try seeing if it's an iron deficiency. So like if you go to GP, you can get tested for that, maybe an iron deficiency. Some people find magnesium can help. So if it's particularly like your job involves standing up a lot, your job involves like a lot of moving around, a lot of like your leg. So like when I work a lot in the NHS, I've worked with nurses who have been suffering from feeling restless around their legs at night, and they found like using magnesium, whether it's a spray that they put on the legs, whether it's in the bath, or whether it's as a tablet, they found that can be helpful to restless symptoms. However, if it is restless legs, and that feeling of like something under your skin and you just can't get away from it, and you just cannot get to sleep ever from it, then that's something that you need to go and talk to GP about. There is treatment for that.
How important is an uninterrupted night's sleep for heart health?
That's a very specific one. Meeting our sleep needs is important to heart health. So as much as possible, trying to understand what that sleep need is, and then meet it as much as possible, 5 nights out of 7, for example, 75% of the time. That will make it less likely that we are going to suffer from issues with our heart. As I said, what will interrupt your sleep? Sleep apnea. What will interrupt your sleep? Restless leg syndrome. What will interrupt your sleep? Kids, partners, pets. So some of this is actually like looking at the triggers, what might be causing that uninterrupted sleep. But bear in mind that we all come out of our sleep cycle 3 to 6 times a night. And I think focusing too much on I need to get into uninterrupted sleep or my heart's going to be poorly, that's the sort of stuff that leads to orthosomnia and sleep issues.
Does lack of sleep cause problems with memory?
So lack of sleep can cause problems with memory. Your sleep is very important to brain health. During sleep, our brain clears itself of those neurotoxins that can affect its performance, and long term, if there's genetic predisposition, affect things like how quickly we might get Alzheimer's or dementia. So yeah, it is if we're meeting our sleep need, if we are getting REM sleep in particular, because during REM sleep, that's where we consolidate memory. And that's also where we go through that overnight counselling session. REM sleep is a stage of sleep we're more likely to be roused from. REM sleep is the stage of sleep where it's harder to sustain. And if we are, say, waking up at 5 in the morning to go for a run, we're using an alarm, that's the stage of sleep we're not getting maybe the amount that we should be. So therefore, it's going to affect our cognitive function.
Is it possible to change your sleep type, so go from a night owl to a lark?
Good question. When we get asked a lot, you'll see in all the magazine articles that one thing you can do to become a lark. And on owls and larks, I would say, as a society, since biblical times, we have punished owls. I'm a bit of a lark, but I feel sorry for owls because we're telling them that they're lazy. We're telling them that because they don't fit society's structure, they're the problem. They're not. And that's a lot about our teenagers. We have a school day that often starts at 8 in the morning, and our teenagers should probably be getting up at 8 o'clock, but they're starting their day at 8 o'clock. So I do think like this sort of like, this predisposition to becoming what we're not is hard. So I would argue your chronotype, I know there's a discussion in sleep about this, but I would argue chronotype is inherent in you. It's a window, not a set in stone time. So we can move within that window quite easily. You can use light therapy where you expose yourself to light, maybe using glasses or a light box earlier in the day. So that will maybe change the time you feel sleepy. You've got to be careful with it because you might do it yourself and end up doing it a bit wrong. But say, for example, tonight I am doing a shift work talk at 7 o'clock. That sounds like, that's fine, James, 7 o'clock, that's not late. But I'm a lark, so me working at 7, I can be a bit less on it. I've got a pair of light therapy glasses. I'll be using them when I get home, probably about 4, just to help me be alert at that time and be the best version of myself. That might mean when I come to bed tonight, it takes me a bit longer to get to sleep. But for today, the most important thing is I get to do my job properly. So we can move within that window, using things like light therapy. We can use things like meal timings to move it. But if you are an extreme owl and you're wanting to get up at 5 in the morning, I can get you up. So we can use, and I do it. I work with athletes who are teenagers who have to wake up at 5 in the morning for training. And we'll use a sunshine alarm clock. We'll use light therapy glasses. So we can do it when we need to. But you're not becoming a lark, you're just an owl getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and that just makes you grumpy. It affects your mental health. And for those athletes, it's going to affect their performance. But unfortunately, when it comes to things like swimming and diving, that is what we do at the moment. And I don't think it's the best thing for them. We're doing something that potentially is making them unhealthy. So yes, you can move within your window. Yes, I can make you wake up earlier or go to bed later. But can I make you a lark or an owl if you're not? No, I would say I can't.
And last question, Natasha Bailey's asked, if travelling to a different time zone, is it better to go to bed at the time that is still natural for your body, or force your body to stay up to go to bed at the normal time in the new time zone?
Jet lag is always quite specific to the individual and depends on what your sleep type is. I would say in that situation, if it was me and I could, so if I was going to a place for 3-4 days and it was for work, I would try as much as possible to stay on UK time. So I would actually try and arrange meetings that are more conducive to me, to when I'm most effective in UK time. I would allow myself to sort of a bit more space when I should be asleep, and I wouldn't try and change things too much. If I was going for 2 weeks, or say if I was an athlete competing at the Olympics in Tokyo, for example, in that run up to that time of leaving, I would be trying to shift my body clock whilst I'm at home, using light therapy glasses, using a light box, and trying to shift it before I go. So I would say if you're traveling and you plan on being there for 2 weeks, it's better to try and work with it. If you are only going for a short amount of time, just try and stick to your body's natural rhythm. If it's a short trip, I would stick to the time that you normally fall asleep. You're more likely to fall asleep the time you fall asleep. So a long-winded answer to that question is I would probably stick to the time that you normally fall asleep, unless it was for a sports event or you were there for a concerted amount of time.
Fabulous. Do you want to sign off, James? We have to call it a day now.
That's great. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you all sleep well tonight. And if not tonight, at least tomorrow.